AZ Audibles on Sports 360 AZ, a little high school football roundtable each and every week during the 2016 season. Eric Sorensen, Jordan Ham, I'm Jared Cohen. Eric, let's get started with you. So this weekend, Chandler against Pinnacle. Jordan's going to be calling the game on Friday night. You can check that out on Sports 360 AZ. You were at Spencer Rattler's intro. He started as a freshman against the Chandler Wolves in his first ever game. Now he gets to face them again as a sophomore. So do us a favor, kind of compare and contrast what you saw that day and what you've seen to this point.
First of all, I'm still amazed this kid is only a sophomore playing early in the season. I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. The biggest difference I see from last year to this year, two things. Number one, he's much bigger. He's a bigger, stronger, faster athlete than he was. And number two, the thing I saw against Basha last week is when the pocket breaks down and Rattler has to elude pressure, keeping his eyes downfield and accurately throwing passes is the biggest difference from this year to last year.
And Jordan's going to be in, as mentioned, is going to be calling that game on Friday, so make sure you check out that. Should be a fun one between Pinnacle and Chandler. Jordan, throwing it your way, you caught a team that scored 70 points last week in the Cactus Cobras. So what stood out? Are there new guys that are starting to emerge?
Yeah, the crazy thing about this offense, they put up about 70 points, and most of these guys aren't seniors. You have Mahal Lee, the quarterback, super efficient, 7 for 12, 3 touchdowns, also tacked on an extra about 70 yards. And then you have Demaria Norris. He rushed for 271 yards and 3 scores. As I said, they're super efficient. They're able to just get the ball and go, a lot of different options. And that offensive line is very, very good and loves running people over.
So Cactus, a team to look out for, maybe coming up from maybe the middle of the top 10.
Absolutely. They have a big game this Friday also at Marcos Deniza, so we'll get a better gauge of where they're at this year.
We talked about Spencer Rattler, freshman quarterback last year. Well, now there's a freshman quarterback this year, guys, that is catching my radar. His name is Jack Miller, Scottsdale Christian Academy. Scottsdale Christian Academy has always had a solid program. Love their field, one of the best looking fields out there, but that's neither here nor there. Miller, through 2 games, 11 touchdowns, no picks, almost 700 yards passing, about 309 yards passing per game is what I think the number was. And this is a freshman quarterback. So like we had with Spencer last year, a young phenom coming up the ranks, could have another with Miller just waiting in the wings. I'm going to have my eye on him for the next several weeks. Let's start with games coming up this weekend. Eric, let's start with you. You're going to be heading out to a big one. Saguaro's back in town, and they're going to be taking on a team coming up from Tucson.
Catalina Foothills making their second consecutive trip to the Valley. Last week they came up and took care of Tempe 35-7. And for Saguaro, it's nice. They're actually going to be playing a team from in-state, not in the city of Phoenix. But as I mentioned, Catalina Foothills making the trek up I-10. One player I'm going to watch is Stone Matthews. You hear about the Kyle Solis, the Corey Stevens, the KJ Jarrells, Jason Mons, loaded as always. Stone Matthews, over 2,000 yards rushing last year, 26 touchdowns. He's off to a great start, averaging over 120 on the ground already in 2 games.
And Foothills, potent offense. They've got some great guys, great weapons for Rhett Rod to throw to, and Brian Becken and Mahalchek at the tight end position. So that should be a fun game. Jordan, you're doing 2 games. So we already mentioned you're going to Pinnacle Chandler to call that game, but on Thursday night you'll be busy as well.
Yeah, I'm going to Chaparral and Centennial. The Firebirds, they're in a time of transition on the offensive side of the ball. They have Grayson Berry, the established starter at quarterback, but a lot of his weapons are now gone. Ryan Bright has moved on to ASU, Christian Skepteris over at UC Davis, and Gianni Tomasi has now chosen to play baseball full-time. So a lot of his weapons are no longer there. So I'm looking at Bo Kelly. He's a big home run hitter type player and can really stretch the field quite a bit. And then defensively, Parker Walton, linebacker. This is his 3rd year on varsity, had 16 tackles in his first game. And he's a guy like Kurt Sugart, who was the last year, who really had a ton of experience and really led the defense. We'll see what he can do against Centennial.
Brophy, Westview is where I'm headed this weekend, guys. Westview, I caught Tyler Vasco for a half for week 0. I'm excited to catch him for a full game. Would like to catch up with him afterwards. And then for Brophy, we've talked about, Noah Pittenger and Robert Brooks, new quarterback throwing to those guys, and Matt Ryan, not to be confused with the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. He goes by Matty Ice also. Everyone has been talking about how great he is, waiting in the wings. He's been backing up Cade Knox. And then a guy on their defense, inside linebacker Max Reese, has leads the team in tackles, has 3 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, and so far their short season, he looks to be everywhere for this Brophy defense. That's it for this week's edition of AZ Audibles. Again, that's Eric, Jordan, I'm Jared on Sports360AZ.com.